Right, so when we left off, we were talking about how most sharks, and there are a couple of exceptions, need to continually swim to stay alive. And remember, this is because they need to pass the oxygen in the water over their gill slits because they don't have any other way to get that oxygen into their blood. There are a couple of exceptions to this. One of those is called the nurse shark. And if you look at the video playing in the lower corner, you can see that the nurse shark has actually adapted its gill slits such that they are able to move the water without the shark moving. So most sharks are not able to do that. Their gill slits are stationary. But by flapping those slits, they are able to pass the water over those gills. So you can see it's just kind of sleeping there on the bottom. If you take a look in the picture here of the nurse shark, notice the lamprey attached to the side of that shark. And there's also one on the bottom. So you can see this is a common occurrence, especially with these sedentary sharks, which don't move a lot. All right, in terms of sizes of sharks, you don't need to know exact numbers, but just generally speaking, the smallest sharks are called pygmy sharks. There's one right up here in the corner. They're only about a foot long. And then the largest sharks are the whale sharks. The term whale obviously implies that it's large. And whale sharks can actually get over 20 or 60 feet in length. So they can get very, very large. Another reason they're termed whale sharks is not just because of their size, but whale sharks are actually plankton feeders. So they filter feed their fish by simply opening their mouth, or not their fish, filter feed their food by simply opening their mouth up wide and swimming and letting the plankton pass through into their stomachs. And as a matter of fact, the second largest shark is also a plankton feeder. So the two largest sharks are actually not carnivores, they're herbivores. The second largest shark is called the basking shark. And this picture shows clearly how they are able to filter out their food. They essentially swim with an open mouth and then they allow the water to flow out their gill slits and the food passes through into their digestive system. The term basking shark comes from the fact that these guys are often seen basking in the sun at the surface. They'll just lazily swim along at the surface with their mouths open, and you can see their dorsal fins protruding out of the water. So these are often seen very close to the surface. Then, of course, we have the most famous of the sharks, the great white shark. These are often called man-eaters. They do not like to eat men, but they have been known to bite humans. You'll learn a little bit more about why that is in the lesson that we're going to do at the end here. But they do get very large. This is a picture of a scuba diver next to a very large great white shark. The great white shark is one of the few sharks that's found worldwide. You can pretty much find them in any ocean, and they are actually seen in the waters off the coast of the United States, the East Coast. The largest great white shark ever landed, meaning caught, was 37 feet in length, over 3,000 pounds, And it was found just north of Maine, off of the coast of Canada. So very, very close to home. It was back in 1935, but there are expected to be sharks this large in the ocean now. They just haven't been caught. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the senses of sharks, and this is actually what your activity at the end of the class today is going to be. So sharks, although they can see, that is not what they count on most for catching their prey and movement. They count on two other things. One is called a lateral line system, and this is found in all fish, with the exception of like lamprey, and hagfish. A lateral line is essentially a very sensory packed line of cells that run along the sides of the fish, and they can sense vibrations in the water as well as sounds, because sounds produce vibrations. So they can tell when there's prey swimming nearby or if there's sound. They also have these pores on their face and snout. They are sensory pores, and they are called the ampullae of Lorenzini. And these ampullae pores will sense electrical signals. So if there is a fish that is thrashing or something else, they will be able to sense that. And these pores, along with their nostrils, which you can see right here, are very sensitive to smell. So they can actually sense blood in the water. They don't taste it, they actually smell it. And if you've ever seen a shark swim, you'll notice that it will often swim moving its head back and forth. And that is because of these sensory pores. It's actually smelling the water to try to find prey. So that's why they move their heads back and forth. And some of the best sensors in terms of sharks are the hammerheads, because they actually have the sensory pores the whole way on the outsides, and they have some of the best sense of smell. And I say smell, meaning that they use those pores and their nostrils to smell. Okay, just have a final video here. It talks a little bit more about those senses. Once this video is done, you can go into Google Classroom and open up the document called Shark Senses. Okay, there's a short video for you to watch, some questions to answer, and then you can turn that in for credit for your points for today then. So here's your video.
Great white sharks. Is there any sea beast so feared by humans? Great whites like these here off the coast of South Africa, in an area called False Bay, can reach 20 feet in length and weigh up to 5,000 pounds. That's more than a pickup truck, but slightly less than a luxury SUV. Add this to the fact that great whites can sprint through the water at speeds up to 43 miles per hour, and it's no wonder we're afraid of sharks. But should we be? I mean, let's face it, they have great vision, they're curious like cats, and they love to taste things that get their attention. But many scientists believe they don't like to eat humans. They feel about humans the way most humans feel about lima beans. There's something to eat out of desperation. The fact is, great whites sometimes taste humans for the same reason they taste other things like motors or boats. Their ampullae of Lorenzini prompt them to taste it, of course. The ampullae of Lorenzini are gel-filled electroreceptors found all around the shark's snout and head. That's these smaller pores you see here. These receptors are extremely sensitive to electrical discharges, even as small as 0.005 microvolts. That means anything that gives off the tiniest electrical charge has to be checked out, including all living creatures in the sea. Forget humans and motorboats. If you want to see what great white sharks flip over, literally, let's talk about seals. We know that some whale species engage in what's called breaching, leaping out of the water. But did you know great white sharks can breach as well? Look at these false bay great whites put on a show as they go after a seal decoy being pulled by a boat. If humans are lima beans to sharks, then seals are a double hot fudge ice cream sundae with 3 cherries on top. Luckily, we're, lima beans?